Hello, listeners. Been wondering how you can help the show? Probably not. But here are 5 things you can do. 1. Subscribe. Support the show by clicking the subscription link in the show notes. 2. Review on iTunes, on our website, www.afraidofnothingpodcast.com, or on whatever app you listen to. 3. Donate. When you go to our website, click the cute coffee cup icon. Or in the show notes, click the subscription link. 4. Share. Sharing really is caring. Tell your friends and even your enemies to check out the show. 5. Watch. Wait a minute, it's a podcast, not a movie. Actually, it's both. Check the show notes to find out where to watch the documentary. You can also rent it on Prime Video. That's it. Oh, one last thing. Enjoy this episode.
I get very angry at that demon, but they do. The demons, that's their energy. It makes me angry that they think that they have authority or dominion over somebody's body, because they don't. And so you have to show them that you've taken that authority away from them, that this person that they are in isn't okay with that they don't want it. They want you gone. And you just have to keep wearing away at them until they're all gone. Most of them, I don't think I've ever done one that had just one demon in them. I'm not even sure that that's possible to have just one demon.
What's the most demons you've gone up against that you were able to
Lord.
decipher?
I want to say, and I know I got to be close if it's not correct exactly. I believe it was 6 Legion in one person, and a Legion is described as being anywhere from 3,000 to 6,000.
That doesn't sound like a fair fight.
Speaking of fair fights, boy, it was a fight putting together this show. I had all sorts of computer problems. I was well into the first edit. Then all of a sudden, the quality, for some weird reason, got bad. It was very staticky and not very good. All of a sudden, the quality, even though it was the session before I sat down to work on it. So I tried to run it through and see if I could clean it up. To my chagrin, it didn't work. Then I tried to download the Zoom call again. And when I saved it and put it into Audacity, it wouldn't recognize the file. There was some weird encode thing. So then I went onto YouTube to try to get a video on how to get that codec. And I got a weird message that said, restart your computer. It's weird. So I did. And then I was able to get this version of Bishop Rita Strugala on it for the audio, and hopefully it'll work out great and you enjoy the show. So every time I do a show about the demonic, there's always some weird EVPs, and quite frankly, I think as you listen to this, there were a couple places where there's some weird sounds. I didn't know what they were. So interested if you get back to me and if you hear anything. And great episode. Take a listen. And it took a lot of work to get here, but it was worth it. So great guest, Bishop Rita Strugala. I think you're really going to like her.
In a world where nothing is known, nothing is certain, reality is not real. Wake up! Be afraid of nothing. I'm Bob Heskey.
Robert.
The host with the ghost.
This is my podcast, based on my paranormal documentary, Afraid of Nothing. Each episode, we talk to people who see life and the afterlife through a different lens. Join me.
Who is this large man? And what's he doing in our bedroom?
As we lift the veil and open our minds to see beyond our eyes lie. This is Afraid of Nothing.
I am here with a person I have been really looking forward to talking to since I saw her on television. I am here with Bishop Rita Strugala. Bishop Rita, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Bishop Rita, on the Travel Channel, there's Eli Roth's Legion of Exorcists, and it showcases 6 exorcists, which each share their stories and past cases about encounters with demons. You're the lone woman on the panel. What was that like to be the lone woman? And what are the other exorcists on the panel like?
Well, at first, I didn't really know. I didn't realize until I got there that I was going to be the only woman on the panel. But that's fine. We all just got along very well from the first minute we met. There was like no egos, which is what I love. There's no egos, nothing like that. All that stuff's hung at the door, and we were there to support one another, and it worked out very well.
Did you know any of them before the series, or did you just meet them on set?
I had seen Bishop Long in a couple of different TV shows before, but I had never met him. Never spoken with him. The other ones I did not know at all. And we actually met the producer of the show. He got us a Zoom meeting together about a week before we flew out to Los Angeles to shoot the show. That's when we got to meet each other, was on the Zoom call.
And how did they reach out to you? Was it out of the blue? Did you have to audition, or did they know that they wanted you on this show?
No, it was kind of funny the way it worked out. I've had several people over the years who have wanted to do a TV show or some kind of show, and for whatever reason, it just didn't work out. I would ask my guides. I always ask my guides, "Do I need to do this?" And they would always say, "No, no, no."
Wow.
And so I pretty much just, it's like I stopped even asking. I just kind of get an email or something. I just trash it and never reply to it. And this one happened to be on LinkedIn, and I saw it. It was back by Thanksgiving, I believe it was, of 2020. I looked at it and it said, we'd really like to talk to you. We're doing this new show, blah, blah, blah. And so I waited about a week, I guess it was, and then I finally asked my guides, should I talk to them? Because I was so expecting to hear no, and I heard yes. And I said, really? and they said yes, and I was like, okay. So I reached out to them, and there were several series of. You got to realize this was right during COVID and all that stuff. So all interviews and stuff like that were done over a Zoom call or the telephone. That went through several of those, and it took probably maybe a year or so, and then was told that I was one of the final cast members.
Wow. Yeah, it's really weird how these things unfold. I live in Westminster, Massachusetts. There's a really haunted house in Gardner right down the street. And in Leominster, There's a place called Monsterland. And there's a guy named Ronnie LeBlanc who has written a lot of books about Bigfoot. There's a brewery out there. I think he even has his Monsterland brew. And so there was a show called Expedition Bigfoot that's still on. Yeah. And I think the first year, one of the guys got sick, so he got called in. Now, I don't know Ronnie personally. I know people that have talked to him. I hopefully have him on the show at some point. We just haven't connected yet. But yeah, he actually, he does local library talks and stuff. But yeah, he actually got a call and made a decision to do it, and he's been on it the past 4 years. So it's crazy how these things unfold sometimes.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, I didn't jump right on it by any means. I just really didn't think that. I don't know. It was do I really want to put myself out there? Just all that stuff that you think about. But my guides kept saying, yes, talk to him. And so I did. And here I am.
Wow. Does each exorcist get like one show? Like is the focus of one show their story, or how's the format of the show work pretty much?
The format of the show, it depended on the stories. We all had 2 or 3 different stories, and it was whichever ones the channel chose that they wanted to do. And then I had 2 of my cases where mine was on week 1 and week 4 of 6. So they would just kind of mix and match them and that kind of thing. Not all the shows or all the stories, I should say, that we filmed were actually on there, and that was because of time. It just, by the time you edit it and that, they put two different stories on every single week, so you really have approximately 17 minutes to tell a story that probably took a year to actually wrap up.
Yeah.
So, so that's kind of how that
did you
works.
the old $1 million question is, how did you like the reenactment and the portrayal of you? I have a, working on this podcast, and I made a documentary as well. I mean, I know paranormal producers, and I know a guy who has been on a couple episodes of A Haunting, and has been his story has been told a couple different times, and it's just like, it's funny. It's like, I was really happy with the actor. He did a great job. I really thought they did it. Were you happy with I know it's the show and you're kind of under contract, but were you happy with the kind of the portrayal of it? Did you feel it was realistic enough?
It was fine. I think what happened with mine was the same actor was supposed to play me in both of the episodes. The first actress, she came back to do the second one. She had done the first one. She came back to do the second one, and she tested for COVID. So she had to be out. They had to bring somebody else in and I absolutely adore this girl. She reached out to me right away. She wanted to make sure that she wanted to portray me as best she possibly could. And she really, really did a good job. I thought, I don't think that they need to use a wig. I didn't care for the wig thing much, but but other than that, I mean, they did all right. Moving forward, if I had a say in it, which I don't, but if I did, I would ask them to kind of cut back on the reenactment some, maybe more of the round table discussion. It just seemed a bit over top to me, but then what do I know? I'm not an actress, and it's not my thing. So, it just, I mean, I thought it was a good, positive experience to go through for me. Just looking at it as a viewer or whatever, I personally would think that the more round table discussion, because I've heard from so many people saying we learned so much, we wish we could have heard more in the round table discussions. So,
yeah, that's funny. Some shows are good at that. There's one show called Haunted, I think, that was on Netflix, where I really liked it. They had like 3 series, and I keep waiting for the next ones. Year 1 was the best, where a person sits around, he's got like 3 people around him, and some of them know his story or her story, and some of them don't. And he talks about it. But a lot of it, see reenactment, there's a lot of them telling it and seeing the reaction, of the family members and friends. And it's really cool. So yeah, that's great. I would imagine you have great hair and red hair, right? So I imagine, to get that right has to be one of the most important things probably in this thing, to kind of let people know it's you. I saw her on Facebook. We connected on Facebook, and thank you so much. You're very, you have a great sense of humor on Facebook. You have funny memes that you have on there, a good sense of humor, and you actually got back, which is really greatly appreciated. I saw a picture of you, which actually was several years ago. You told me before we went live, but it gets physical with some of these demon interactions, and it can draw blood. Can you talk about a couple examples of that?
Sure. Yeah, the one you saw the picture of, that was a really crazy case. As we were leaving to go to that case, the girl that does these exorcisms with me, she is basically the one that St. Michael uses, and Jesus used me as his vessel. And so she always stands behind the person who is possessed, and she works on them from that direction, and I work on them from the front. So we just kind of tag team them. On the way there, she kept saying, I don't understand what this is. She's our senior sensitive. She picks up everything before we ever get there. And I also have gifts. And so I don't get my information the same way she does. So which is cool because it makes for a bigger picture. But she kept saying, I just keep seeing this man in robes. And I'm going like, well, is he a good spirit or is he a negative spirit? She said, I can't tell. He's just really neutral. I said, okay. And she said, I don't know. Maybe I'll know more when I get there. I said, okay. We get there and get out, and normally what we do, and it just happened to be that Father Art was with us that day. This was actually a neighbor of his, and Father Billy. And we were over at Father Art's, and we do communion prior to going into an exorcism. While we were doing that, right afterwards, Colleen said, Art, you've got a demon in here that followed you from across the road. He said, I know. He said, we'll take care of it today. I'm like, wow, okay. So we go.
Is this early kind of in your baptism of doing
it was
Okay.
very, yes, very early. And it probably my second year doing it.
Right.
And so we go over there, and it's like 190 degrees outside. It's August. And so it's so hot and everything. When we're going around the property getting it, and Colleen keeps saying that there's that man with the robes again. And I'm like, well, who is it? She said, I don't know. He won't talk to me. I said, okay. So I just went on. I thought, whatever. We get in, we talk to the family, going through the house. We all go through and cleanse the house and everything. We got that done. And I go through afterwards with the ting shaws. And it's like a bell, in case you don't know what a ting shaw is. And I go to every corner of every room and you ding it one time. Demons hate bells. They absolutely hate them. And that's a lot of times, if you miss anything, and that place was kind of like, I'm not trying to be rude by any means, but it was kind of like a hoarder house. So there was a lot of chaos and a lot of clutter, which demons love. And so I wanted to make sure we got everything because there was just so much stuff. And I was in a room downstairs. All the rest of them were in the living room with the family. We were getting ready to do the exorcism. And they were just waiting on me to finish. And I went into a spare room that didn't have much in it. It was like a place where they put furniture they're not using at that time. And I went to the first corner and I dinged it. I walked over to the next corner, dinged it. I was on my way over to the third corner. And the next thing I knew, I was flying through the air, was thrown out of the room, probably 4 feet out of the room, head first into the wall in the hallway.
Wow.
And I just, I'm just on the floor going, what the heck just happened? I was kind of looking down, kind of shaking my head like, I just couldn't figure out what just happened. Did I trip? What happened? And I thought, how could I trip? My feet weren't even on the floor. About that time, I felt like some splatter, and I looked down and there was blood dripping onto my hands, my arms. About that time, Father Billy came around the corner and he saw me on the floor over there. And he said, what happened? He walks over and he kind of takes my chin and turns it up. So I'm looking at him. I'm still down on the floor. And he sees the blood just going down my face. And so he's yelling for a rag. And so about that time, everybody else is like, well, what's going on? And they come around the corner, and Father Art come around the corner. And he said, she just got thrown out of that room. And it's funny. You know, I was so angry because not only did it throw me out of the room, it broke my ting shaws, and I was mad. And I just really irritated me. And Father Art said, take her into the other room and we'll put some ice on her head. He said, I'll go in and take care of this. And I remember saying, no, I'm going back in there. I said, and let that demon think it got something over on me. Oh, hell no. And
reminds me of Rocky when you go in the corner and they tend to the cut, you go back out into the ring to go fight another round.
Yes, it's like I don't want that demon thinking he got something over on me. And Art just kind of nods to Billy, and it's like, I've been overruled. This sucks. And so Billy took me into the other room, and I dutifully went and I sat down, and he gave me some ice with a rag and put it on your head. I'm going to go help Art. I said, okay. He walks out of the room and I count to 10. The minute I hit 10, I'm up and I'm in like a shot into that room. And it was so cool because the way the timing worked out, as I walked in, Art was taking care of that demon. And it was like the last thing that demon saw was my face. And I'm like, yeah, okay, we're good.
Wow.
So we went in and started doing the exorcism. And Helene did something I've never seen her do. She's the one that works, St. Michael works through her. She's behind this person, and Father Art is doing the exorcism. I'm taping it. And Colleen, all of a sudden, she gets this perturbed look on her face, and she moves over to the left. And I thought, I've never seen her do that before. She's always right behind the person. When it got done and we got it all finished and everything, we're on our way back home. And Colleen says, I still don't understand what that man in the robes was doing. She said, he made me mad. And I said, what are you talking about? She said, during the exorcism, he told me to move. I said, he told you to move? He said, yeah. He said, you will be gone. I said, he told you you're going to be gone? She said, no, he told the demon you will be gone. She said, who is that man? And all of a sudden I heard my guide say, that was St. Benedict.
Huh.
And I had chills from head to toe. And I said, oh my God, Colleen. I said, that was St. Benedict. She said, but why was he there? I said, for crying out loud, he's the patron saint of exorcism. We wear his medals.
I was going to ask what he was. Okay, that's
Yeah.
wild. That's wild.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, I had a shiner for actually both eyes turned black for about 2 weeks. It lasted about 10 days, I think it was. But yeah, that was my meeting with the wall.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, just to set the audience straight about kind of perceptions and misperceptions, you mentioned you were filming it. Now, the Catholic Church doesn't usually allow that. So let's talk about the church that you represent. What is the Celtic Cross Communion International? What is that? And talk about how you became associated with it and became a bishop and then an exorcist.
It is like an umbrella church kind of thing. We take in there's all different denominations that are under that umbrella. Mine, the one that I'm with is the Celtic Cross Old Catholic Church, which is different than the Roman Catholic Church as to how they operate, which is why I can be a bishop or even, hold an office in the church. Roman Catholics still won't allow women to be priests or really hold any meaningful office in the church, whereas Old Catholic does. And they needed to have an exorcist, excuse me, but they did not have one, an exorcist. And I had been with them for quite a while, even before that, and became a reverend at one point under a different administration with them. And then when Father Patrick left, Father Benny and Father Nick asked if I wanted to still stay there, and if so, would I consider going with the Old Catholic Church under Father Nick? And I thought about it, and I thought, yeah, let's do that. So
How did you
I did
train? I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but usually if it's a Roman Catholic Church, they go to Rome, right? And they watch exorcisms, and and then they're thrown into the fire. I mean, how did it work for you?
For me, okay. So prior to that happening, before I joined the Celtic Cross, I was doing paranormal investigations for 40 years. And all my cases were getting to the point where they were pushing over to the dark side constantly. And it's such a long story. Anyway, when things started to go turning towards the darkness, I did not want anything to do with the darkness. I didn't want to be anything even close to an exorcist. And that's just the truth. That was never anything that I wanted to do. If I got a case that was, really dark, that I really thought was demonic, I would find somebody else that I figured was qualified to handle that. That wasn't me. And I kept feeling like that I knew that the Lord was trying to push me in that direction. And I really didn't want to go. And there was a good year in there that every single case we had, it started out where we saw all the good things. I mean, the angels saw the stairway to heaven, just all kinds of stuff. And then I remember Colleen looking at me and saying, if we're seeing the best of the best now, at some point we will see the worst of the worst. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that.
But you did. I know you said it's a long story, but there's actually, it's a case like in a horse farm in Georgia or something, right? That kind of turned the tide where your abilities changed, right?
That was the time when I finally said to the Lord, okay, I'll do it. I got it. You got my back. I'll do it. But what happened prior to that was, I was actually right after that. Colleen and I did a case that was awful. It was really bad. We were getting ready to go up to Scarefest to have a fun weekend. This guy calls, he's got a case going on. We go there. The only reason he wanted us there was for his entertainment. He had demons in him big time, but he didn't want to let him go. He pretty much enjoyed playing with them and the Ouija board. So I was angry that I wasted my time on that case, and I just put it out of my head. Didn't think no more about it afterwards. Like, yeah, well, we're done with that dude. Yeah, right. 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from a bishop up in Tennessee, and he's an exorcist bishop. And apparently that guy contacted him saying that I had said that he needed an exorcism, and he was calling to find out what he had to do to get that. And I thought, you got to be kidding me. So I talked to this guy, told him what happened at the case and how it was a complete waste of time. And I felt like he'd be wasting his time because this guy has no intention of getting rid of his demons. He said, do me a favor. He said, would you mind writing all this up for me over the weekend and send it to me? And I said, no problem. So I did. I worked on it over the weekend and I sent it to him. And a couple of days later, he called me back and he said, I got to commend you. He said, you have down times, you have down specific everything. He said, that's really good. He said, do you think you'd be interested in being my person to go to when somebody tells us that they have a demon problem, that you could go and check it out for me? And I thought about it for a while and I thought, well, yeah, I can do that because I always know I can feel the difference in the energy and stuff. And I also have the ability that when they look at me, I will see their eyes go black if they have a possession. So I said, yeah, I would do that. So I started out with him. God rest his soul. He's no longer with us. I was with them for a few years. And then it was shortly after that case on the horse farm that you were alluding to, when all of a sudden, because I was kept saying, we don't, I don't have everything I need for this group. We need a priest, because he was located up in Tennessee, had a double bypass. No, excuse me, more than that, quadruple bypass. And so he wasn't able to get around much in that. He had his health that he had to, look out for. And just like that, after stating that, I think it was a week later, I met a shaman. And the weirdest thing, I'm talking to him over the internet and we're typing back and forth. And I didn't know this guy from Adam's House Cat. And I just sent him a message and I said, we're supposed to work together, right? And I'm looking at that going, why did I type that? And I'd already sent it. And he writes back and he said, yes. And I went, oh my gosh. So, I mean, the Lord does things like that to me all the time. He will put what I need in front of me. And that was one of them. He later, the shaman, he was 5th generation shaman. He later became a priest under the same bishop that I was working for doing demonic cases. And so he became, one of his priests under the bishop. And then all of a sudden, Father Billy also just kind of fell in my lap kind of thing. And it was just wild the way it worked out that we ended up with 2 priests and an exorcist bishop on our team. And I studied under them. I went with them to exorcisms. I helped. I assisted. We all just worked very well together. One of them was Catholic, so he taught us how to do the Catholic rite. The other one was more of a charismatic. So I got to learn both sides of it, which was really neat. And
I was going to say, because I have a guy that was in my documentary who goes to places and he casts out demons. Yeah, they have a totally different approach than, the church is kind of, here's how he says it. And you tell me if I'm wrong. He says the church is almost kind of aggressive, or I cast you out, Jesus cast you out, where he is different. They kind of puts them in a bubble of love, or kind of raises them up to St. Michael or whatever to take them away. It's kind of a different approach. It's not as confrontational, but it's more of raising the spirit out and bringing them to the light. Is that what you found, or?
No. No.
Okay. How is it with a shaman?
Well, he basically, he would speak in tongues, which was in the Native American, but he was the one that turned Catholic. And he was trying to do them the Catholic rite. And then Billy was the one that was more, he'd done it charismatic. And I did not grow up Catholic. I did not know much about Catholics. I grew up Baptist on my mother's side, Lutheran on my father's side. And when I got old enough to decide, I joined a Methodist church. And then I married a Catholic. So I'm kind of like a religious mutt. And
yeah, you're being called in every direction. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
wow.
Which is kind of cool though, because it really takes a lot of knowing different ways of doing it. I'm not going to say any of them are wrong. If it works for you, it's right. But you have to do what works for you. I can't stand up there and just read out of a Catholic missal and, the demon's sitting there laughing at me because some of the words I don't even understand what they mean. I'd have to go look them up kind of thing. It just felt really stiff to me, but I have done them Catholic rite, but I prefer to do them the charismatic way because it was just more what comes from your heart. They have no way of saying that you don't mean what you're saying, or trying to use that against you, because when you can connect with those words and you know what they mean and you have conviction about them, it works. It absolutely works.
How do you feel when you're combating? And I want to talk about the spiritual warfare aspect and what that involves, because I heard you on another podcast saying it's almost like a general that sends out his minions first and saves the big brute for the end. So I'd love to talk about that. But how does it feel? Are you kind of like in an alternate reality where it's just you and them and everything else is gone? Or what's it like when you're confronting a demon like that?
I mean, I know I'm acutely aware that my team is around me, which is good because we all have each other's backs. I mean, 100%. So you're not there doing it alone. You're there with them and they are helping you through this. There are times where, it's gone on so many hours, I can hardly talk anymore kind of thing. And all I have to do is look at one of them and they will step in front and start going over the Psalms just to give me a minute to rest, to get my voice back. I get very angry at that demon, not at the person that is sitting in front of me. And I will tell them immediately before we do anything that if I'm talking to you, I will say your name. If I'm not saying your name, don't take anything I say harshly. Don't take it to heart. It's not aimed at you. And they're fine with that. I've never had any problem with it. But they do. The demons, that's their energy. It makes me angry that they think that they have authority or dominion over somebody's body, because they don't. And so you have to show them that you've taken that authority away from them, that this person that they are in isn't okay with that they don't want it. They want you gone. And you just have to keep wearing away at them until they're all gone. Most of them, I don't think I've ever done one that had just one demon in them. I'm not even sure that that's possible to have just one demon. And I guess that's just because of what I've seen. And maybe they know who they're coming towards. So, they just pile on. I don't know.
What's the most demons you've gone up against that you were able to decipher?
I want to say, and I know I got to be close if it's not correct exactly. I believe it was 6 Legion in one person. And a Legion is described as being anywhere from 3,000 to 6,000.
That doesn't sound like a fair fight. It doesn't really.
No.
Do demons have like a kill shot, like in boxing, where if they get you down, your energy, like you're down, or is it just a matter of will and just kind of just blasting away? And I guess it raises a question too. Like you see The Exorcist, right? Like the priest takes the demon in its body and jumps out a window or whatever, right, to kill himself. Do demons ever win and take the soul of a religious person, or is that never the case? And I'm sorry if I don't mean to make that be a sacrilegious question or blasphemy or anything. It's just my ignorance. Are there any cases where the soul is lost to a demon, or is that can't happen?
Boy, that's there's a lot of people that are debating that even right now. I don't believe that they can take a Christian. I don't believe they can, but that's just me. It kind of also depends on the person. They had a weakness. That's how the demon got in. Whether they invited it in, that way, or had a weakness that the demon got in, they're there. You are then marked from then until whenever. But there are people that will sacrifice themselves to have fame, to have glory, to have, lots of money, whatever it is. If you sell your soul, then yeah, they can. Then they can. But as far as a person that's like doing exorcism on somebody and having it jump in you and take yours, no, I don't believe they can.
If you don't mind, I'd like to step back a little bit and just go to definitions. What is a demon? Thinking about the entities that you hear about doing this podcast, I've done a little bit over 100, just over 100 episodes. Some people believe there is no evil. It's all good. And the evil is man-based. Some people believe there are definitely demons and there are definitely angels. Some people think angels and demons came from the same seed, but they just went different directions. What is your thought about angels and demons and even ghosts, human spirits that are bad entities but aren't demons?
I believe that the demons are the fallen angels, like it says in the Bible. I do believe that. I believe that, like you, I mean, I know people that think that there's only demons, that there are not ghosts. Yeah, there are. There's ghosts, and yes, there are angels. And I do believe that some humans are angels. My grandmother was, and she's my guide.
Wow.
Once she passed, she became my guide. I had a different guide up until that time, but she's definitely my guide, and she is an angel. It's just kind of whatever your belief system is. I'm not going to say anybody's wrong or right. I just know what works for me. I do believe, what the Bible says, that they're fallen angels. I absolutely believe that. I've come up against the SA too many times. I call him that because I don't want to say his name out loud. I'm not trying to summon him.
Mm-hmm.
And same with other demons. You don't ever say their names out loud either, or they will come. And that's one of the things. Okay, that's one of the things with the Catholic rite of exorcism that I kind of have a problem with. They are wanting you to get the name out of that demon so you can expel them. However, I know that demons are, SA is the father of all lies. So what's to keep them from going? You go up there, you ask them what the name is of that demon, and that demon says, my name is Bubba. And you start calling Bubba out, and Bubba's actually waiting over here in the wings. Here's his name, and now you've summoned him.
Yeah, God, that's so counter to what you hear. It's like, you told me your name, Bob, and now I can control you. It's like, no, you're saying. So can we just talk briefly about kind of what your process is and how it's different than maybe what you see in the movie? So, how do you take up a case? How many people go? How do you do an evaluation of if it is demonic or maybe a mental illness or both? And then what's your crew that you bring with you to kind of get rid of, to perform the ceremony and get rid of the demon?
All right. Yeah. For me, it usually starts out with either an email or a phone call. And usually there's telling things to me. At the same time, I'm feeling their energy as they're talking to me. I can feel it even through the computer and that. And they can travel through electronic devices and stuff like that. But I can feel that energy, and it feels like static to me, like kind of like in the wintertime when you rub your feet on the carpet and you start shocking everybody. That kind of thing I feel like with the negative energy. That's how I feel it. So,
you also mentioned, Bishop Rita, that you see their eyes become black, almost like, black-eyed children. When you see that, do other people in the room see it too, or is it just something that you're able to see?
Some people have that gift, some do not. With me, it's usually a very quick flash, and I will know, and it's weird because I will know then that they don't have a whole lot of them in them. But if they're possessed by a lot of demons, their eyes will go black and they will stay black. And I know then we are dealing with a lot. That's just one of the things that's one of my gifts. Generally speaking, they'll start out telling me, I will ask them what exactly is going on. They will be telling me things, and there's always red flags that go up when they say certain things. I will always make a note of it and check up. Once we know what's going on with them, I can feel the energy. I have heard listen for the buzzwords and things. I will have them get checked out, have a psychological eval to see if they have any kind of mental illness or anything like that. There are some people that have mental health problems, but they also have demons. Then it's kind of a balancing act, trying to figure out.
That's a tough one. Yeah, it's like, how do you deal with like someone like with dementia that has demons, and what do you do? It's crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, once I know what we're dealing with, and we decide that we are going to take that case, I always ask my guides as to how many people we're going to need on this case, because I don't know at the time if this is going to be a very violent person or not. More often than not, I get the violent ones. I will ask, and sometimes they'll say 3 people. Well, that's not very violent then.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll say 6, 7 people, and then I know to bring at least 8 or 9 people because
Wow.
their strength is incredible. It's absolutely crazy. The
Do you
strength.
have 8 or 9? Do you have like a posse of, people that you bring with you that are beefy men or whatever that come with you that can help out? Or
I wish I could say that, but no. I mean, we have people that have helped us before, so they know what they're doing. They know what to expect. But most of us, we don't generally have anybody under the age of like 40 that helps us out.
Well, that
So
sounds young to me because I'm 60, but it's like, yeah, it's crazy. Wow. This is, it's funny talking to you because it breaks some of the perceptions or misperceptions that I had. Like, I think I heard you mention on a podcast that a lot of times they go after the healthy, strong people, and in the movies it's always a child or a frail old lady or something like that.
yes,
It's very rarely a UFC fighter or MMA or whatever. It's usually someone I guess because that's more cinematic. But I think I heard you say that they would prefer someone a little more hardy that they could then have.
absolutely.
Interesting.
Yes, somebody that can beat us physically. Because see, they're not intending to come out of that physical body that they're in. And they know before we ever get there what it is we do. They know who we are, what we do. They know what they're facing. So, sure, they're going to fortify their team as best they can. If they can find a young Marine that has been taught how to kill, that's the best.
Well,
and that's strong. And we've gone up against those before. And I'm telling you, it's not fun. It's not fun because they will send out all the little tiny minions first to wear you down, and you'll have the biggest and baddest ones at the end when you're already so tired.
So as an out of shape older guy, I'm safe pretty much, or you think, or what?
No, because if they don't have a young one that they can get in that's not as weak minded, whatever, then they will go after whoever they used for a host. So
I have to tell you, I did something that's probably a faux pas. About a little less than a week ago, I was picking up my daughter from community service. It was a graduation thing, and we passed this outdoor type of flea market, yard sale type of thing. And I saw this nun doll being pulled out of a box, and I had her stop and I had her go back. And I said, offer $10. And she went back and she said, oh, creepy doll, I don't want to do that. She came back empty headed. No, she said 22. I said, here, give her 21. And so she went back and she brought and it was a nun doll. It was a nun. It wasn't like creepy looking. It was very sweet. It wasn't like porcelain. It had a cross on it. And you may tell me I've done stupid things, but I said, wonder what the name would be. And so I asked like a spirit talker app, and it said Genevieve, which is a very actually good saint of I think Saint Genevieve saved Paris and was like a very good nun. So I'm hoping I made a good choice here. But anyways, I digress. But I saw like the nun doll. I know you're a bishop, but it's like I felt like compelled for it. So I'm hoping I'm not like one of your next cases.
I hope not, but you know my number if that's so.
I do, yeah. And do you videotape these things or audio tape them or for recording cases?
I do. I definitely record every single one of them because if there's ever, God forbid, if anything ever goes wrong and somebody were to get hurt, it's not going to be my word against
God, it's a legal thing. Yeah. Wow.
This is here you go, police. This is exactly what happened. So that's why we do it. We don't share them with anybody else. In fact, I have them sign a contract before we ever go into it. They know that I'm going to tape it, and they know that I can and do sometimes if we get a new person that's on our team, that's how I train them, is to show them, this is what we've gone up against. This is what's happened. You need to know what you're getting into. We don't share them with anybody else. It's not for entertainment by any means. But that's how we, can use for training in that before we take them into a situation like that.
So did you ever get on tape like someone like you see in the movies, like walking up on the walls like a spider or levitating or anything like that? Or is it mostly just people saying things about you that they shouldn't know or speaking in a foreign tongue or having a lot of strength and being restrained?
They have a lot of strength, big time. I have not seen anybody levitate. I have not seen anybody walk up the walls yet. But maybe that's due to the fact that we chain them down. I don't know.
Wow. Yeah. Here, sign this release before we chain you down. Oh my God, that would be wow. That would be cinematic.
Well, like I said, we're old people here. I mean,
Yeah.
we can get hurt really easily. I tell them that all up front that, would you have any problem for our safety if we chain you down to the chair? And they have no problem with it. They just want this thing out.
Yeah.
And that's the right thing. I had one guy that if he wasn't chained down, probably would have killed us, at least one of us, if not more. Lord knows he was trying. And then he kind of turned into a serpent and he was weaving in the chair. If he'd been on the floor, he would have slithered all over the floor. Definitely.
Oh my God. Jeez.
Yeah. Not fun. Not good.
Now, when you are out walking out and about, your day off, who knows what day you have off, if you have any days off, but Bishop Rita, you're out in town, you're trying to be eating at a restaurant. Do you ever see someone across the room that 100% is possessed and they lock eyes and then they look all the time?
All the time. It
oh
happens.
My God, it's frightening.
You're sitting there eating and you feel like somebody's staring at you, and I'll turn around and look and there's black eyes just boring a hole in me. And I'm just like, go away. I'm hungry. Leave me alone.
What would you say? I know it's very non-scientific, but what % of the population would you say is possessed or obsessed? Or is it in the single digits, the teens? What would you think?
Personally, I think it's definitely growing. And I think a lot of that is due to the internet and also television and the movies and stuff like that, with all these challenges and stuff people put on. Oh my gosh, I've had so much of that stuff happen. I'm going to say, I know when I started doing paranormal cases, I was quite young. I was 11 was the first ones we did, but when I actually went out and started helping people, it was when I was 16. At that time, I remember reading something that said to run into an actual demonic case, you had probably a 5% chance in your lifetime of coming across a truly demonic case.
Mm.
And now I'd say we're up to about 75%.
Wow. I mean, but everybody, or if you're looking for it, or people don't even know it, you mean they would be unaware of it, or?
It will eventually make itself aware of it. A lot of times what the demonic does when they jump into somebody's body like that is a lot of times they just, for all intents and purposes, they go to sleep. They push you aside and you don't know what you did while you were out that time. There's a lot of people that say, well, my husband told me I did this, or I said that, and I have no memory of it. That is a textbook demonic case of something that they do. Now, sometimes they will just push you aside and you just won't have any control over your faculties. You'll see what they're going to do. In fact, you saw that in one of the cases on the show was when it started out, she went down to the basement, Jen did, looking for her Aunt Deb. And Aunt Deb was standing on a stool with a noose around her neck. And she was about to step off of it when she was found. And when I asked her about that, she said, I knew what was happening. She said, I couldn't stop it. She said, I had no control over my body and what was happening. So she actually knew what it was doing. Most of them, it's like they black out and go to sleep. She knew everything. She saw everything. She described everything. She just couldn't stop it.
Why are demons hell bent on destroying the body, that they possess, versus using that body to go on a rampage against other people? It seems like they're always trying to possess something and then kill it and then go on to the next one. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Or?
That's their whole thing, is to get rid, because mankind was made by God. They hate that.
Yeah.
So this is, against good and evil. To destroy the body is to destroy something God made. And that's exactly what they want.
So I know we're getting up against a time. I just have maybe 3 more questions, if that's okay.
Sure.
I know you're religious and believe in the Bible. Reincarnation. Any thoughts of, I know you believe in the afterlife. I would assume you do. Any thoughts of reincarnation and past lives and having multiple lives that you live? Or do you think that's just your one time here as Bishop Rita and then you go on to the next stage?
No, I absolutely believe in reincarnation. I know I've been here 23 times. This is my 23rd time. And
How do you know that? I mean, I've had guests that talk about reincarnation. It's funny that, and I'm just interested in what your take is versus what I've heard other people say.
With me, it's cell memories, some cell memories. I speak to my guides. I've asked them questions about it. That a lot of the ways that I've died really do line up with what my fears are in this lifetime. For me, it just made a lot of sense that we are given one soul by God. This is what I believe.
Yep.
That we are given one soul, and throughout all the lifetimes that you live, and I believe we are sent back here to learn certain lessons. And while we're here, we learn whatever. When we go back, our memory is wiped when we come down here. Once we pass over, I believe that you get all your memories back from all the different lifetimes. That's how our souls, I believe, evolve, by learning lessons and getting to that point where you've got to, there's so many people there's so many things that need to be learned, but like one lifetime could be all about compassion, learning compassion for others, or, helping others, what is sin and what is not sin, and, just all kinds of things. This is what you're going to learn when you're down here this lifetime. Once you've learned all you can learn, then I believe that's when we're called home.
Now, you're much higher on the chain than I am. I'm a podcaster. You're a bishop, and you're helping people, and I'm talking to people about what they've been through. So, do you feel like you're near the end of your line on reincarnations? That you're pretty close to ascending to the next level?
I do believe that. I've been told that this is my last time here.
By your spirit guide, or by an angel, or?
Well, my spirit guide is my angel. An angel.
Right.
But yes, I believe that, but that now, and like I always tongue in cheek, what I told my guide was, yeah, but they never said anything about sending me to a different planet.
Oh yeah. I was going to, that brings an interesting question. I always get the math question from the skeptics. One is like, there were only, there's like, whatever, 7 billion people here now. And how can there were only maybe a couple million thousands of years ago? How can these souls, how can they multiply like that? And my answer, and I wonder if it's the same as yours, is my answer is, well, that's assuming it's just, we're talking about this planet. There could be alternate realities. There could be other existences, parallel planes. There's all these different things. Then the math works out. And they're like, oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay, same thought. Okay, because I've run up to that a couple of times, and that's been my thought. It's like, if you think it's just, like the sun revolves around the earth and we're the center of everything, and it's just this, the math is difficult. But if you have a broader view, you can kind of understand how things work out. So
exactly. Yep.
Well, this is great. I want to respect your time. Thank you so much for your time today. Want to tell us, is there, I know the writer's strike is going on, and that probably affects your show, Eli Roth's Legion of Exorcists. Do you know when you may begin working? I know that no one knows for the strike, but do you think to have another season come out of this, or what? Any word on that?
No, we're hoping. Don't know. We're still under contract. I don't know the exact thing, but it's like a year or so, something like that, after the first airing or something like that, so that they can recall you back, whatever. There's like you said, the writer's strike and actor's strike now.
Yeah. My last question would be, when's the first time you saw a ghost or had an experience?
I was 5 the first time it happened, and it was very traumatic for me at that point. But it actually is what put me on the trajectory of my entire life of doing paranormal investigation. I couldn't understand how something can talk that doesn't have a voice box. It just didn't make any sense to me. And back then, because I'm about your age, I'm 59.
Yeah.
And back then, I mean, I tried in the school library, I tried to find anything I could on ghosts. I had to know. The only thing I could find there was like Casper the Friendly Ghost and or Hans Holzer books. So I read every Hans Holzer book I could get my hands on. It just was a lifelong quest to find out how this, would happen. And then when I started actually doing investigations, I would get the craziest pictures. I mean, there's so many entities that would show up for me on camera, but I couldn't see them with my eyes. And that became my all-consuming question then, is how is it that my camera can see this, but I can't?
Yeah.
And so that it just kept my interest in it. And, I've been doing this for almost all my life.
So was it a ghost? Was it a shadow person you saw, or what was the
It
thing
was
that
a ghost.
Okay.
It was a ghost. I didn't see what happened was, and I'll make this very brief, was like I said, I was 5 and I lived up in Minnesota. It was very hot. We didn't have air conditioning up there. We had a one box fan, and my parents would put it in my room at night. My brother and I had a room, and he was over by the door and I was over by the window, and they would put it in the doorway before they went to bed so that we could go to sleep. And then when they went to bed, they would take it out and take it to their room. Well, when they took it out, it woke me up, and I'm just laying there sweating to death, just wishing for a breeze to come through there. And I start hearing footsteps coming down the hall. It's like really late at night. There's no lights on at all. So I knew my parents had gone to bed. And I heard the footsteps, and I really didn't think too much of it because there's oftentimes they would come down and check on us in the night, see if we were okay. And so I just kind of expected that, one of them would show up in the doorway, and the footsteps came and they stopped in the doorway, and there was nothing there. I couldn't see anything. And I remember to this day, my heart pounding out of my chest. I knew something was wrong and I was scared, but I didn't know why. And I just laid there. I was afraid to move. And it seemed like an eternity. It must have been just a few minutes, but all of a sudden this old woman's voice came out, and it sounded like loud, really loud to me. And it said, "You can't stay out of my piggy bank money." Okay,
Wow.
first of all, I didn't even know what the hell a piggy bank was.
Yeah.
I had no clue. I dove under my covers and I was just terrified. And I never heard the footsteps go away, and I never heard another thing. And we moved out of that house about 2 weeks later. Parents never heard a thing, and my brother never woke up.
Oh, so your brother was in the room with you, or in another room?
Yeah, he was
Same
in a
room.
different bed across the room. Yeah, and
Yeah.
and it was right by the door. He never heard nothing. So what I came to finally realize was that was for me to hear. They were opening me up, is what I think. And it scared me so bad I shut any of my gifts down. Of course, didn't know that I did, but I did because I was about 50 when I started opening up again.
Wow. Yeah, I got to tell you, you mentioned 59. Hold on to that, because I'll tell you, being 61, I never thought 59 would be an age I'd want to say I was. But now it's like once you cross the 60 border, it's like you want to go back to 59 is my 29 now. So that's enjoy this year. Have a good time with it, So
Yep.
yeah. So yeah, and last thing I'll tell you is, I didn't realize it, and I never thought about it, but I had like a shadow experience when I was like 4. I was in a room with my brothers and sister, the youngest, and I opened my eyes and I saw like this black silhouette looking over me. I closed my eye, and then the next morning I woke up and I said, "Dad, did you beat up the burglar that was in the room?" And he looked at me like I was crazy, and yeah. That's but I know it was vivid and I know it was real, and I never pieced it together, and I just said it. With most paranormal things, people are like, who knows, So I just kind of cast it aside, and now
And especially at that age, because parents aren't going to tell you, yeah, you saw a ghost. They're not going to tell you that.
Yeah. So who knows? Well, thank you. Is there anything you would like to plug or tell people as a closing message, Bishop Rita, about how to get a hold of you? You probably get enough calls as it is. Where to watch your show? Any appearances that you have coming up?
You can find me on Facebook. I'm on Facebook under Bishop Rita Strugala. I'm the chief exorcist for the Sword of St. Michael. I'm also the chief exorcist for Confraternity of St. Michael the Archangel. All of those have pages on Facebook. You can find me at any of those or on my personal page. I also have started, ever since the show, I have started an exorcism school for women.
Ah, that's great. You got to spend at least a minute explaining that. That'd be wonderful if you could.
Sure. Yeah. What happened was, and it was kind of funny the way it turned out, was when the first show came out, my best friend saw it, and she was talking to her friends in another circle. I mean, I'm acquaintances with these people, but I don't know them. She was talking to them about the show because they all watched it and they hated it. And so she called me up to let me know that her friends hated it. And it hurt my feelings. I'm not going to lie. It hurt my feelings. I've been working on this for 2 years.
Yeah.
And so I was really like heartbroken. I was just like, My gosh. And so when I went into meditation and I asked my guys, I said, if this show is that bad, why did you want me to do this? And all I heard was, you will understand.
Hmm.
And I thought, great. So next day, I start getting emails from other women going, oh my gosh, I've got the same calling as you. You don't know how happy I was to see you on TV. You've got to tell me, how did you break through? This is a male dominated, they won't let you. The church won't let you. How did you get through? And that's when I knew, when he said, you will understand. I thought, okay, you're wanting me to bring other women to the ministry. And so that's what I did. I started a school of exorcism for women. The inaugural group is in fact, they're in school tonight, and they will be graduating in February of this coming year. And then I will be making them a priest. I will, as a bishop, I can do that. So I will be ordaining them priest, and they will be able to do their own exorcisms and have the church backing.
So if someone feels that they have a calling, they should check out your Facebook page and say, when's round 2 happening? Okay. All right.
Yes.
Great.
Yes. Contact me and let me know. And I'll ask you some questions, because I want to make sure it really is your calling. If you just think you want a cool title, trust me, it's not cool.
Yeah.
It's not a cool title.
And I will tell you, from a guy who's watched your show, it's a good show, but the only one of the Legion of Exorcists I remember is you. And it's because I thought, wow, it's a woman among all men. And man, she's very composed. And look, you were the one that I remembered. And it's just like, if you see an ad for that show, I think for some reason you're the one that I recall. And I think you're right. Maybe your guardian angels are correct, that it is sending a strong message that this is a place where women should be, and quite frankly, women are protectors anyway. So why not, So I think it makes sense.
Yes, I agree.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Bishop Rita. You have a new fan. I'll continue to follow you, and who knows? I mean, I hope I don't end up a client, but hopefully we meet each other at some point. Positive 5 situation in the future.
I hope so. That would be great. Thank you so much for all your time.
You've been listening to the Afraid of Nothing podcast. Please subscribe and like us on Facebook. Until next time, stay scared.
Hey, you're still here? Great. Then why not listen to another episode? Visit afraidofnothingpodcast.com to peruse all the shows. That's afraidofnothingpodcast.com. And while you're there, click the coffee cup icon to buy me a coffee and leave a review. I'll give you a shout out in an upcoming episode, and the world will know how swell you are.